And we're live.
Oh,
This
great.
is all right. This is Matt Bertram with the Business Houston podcast presented by the BBB. I got Rachel Eddins with me of Eddins Counseling Group. Rachel, it's good to have you on. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, awesome. I was looking through your website. Why don't you just share with us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your business?
Sure, happy to. Well, we are a group practice of mental health counseling in Houston, Texas. We offer in-person and online therapy, and we do have therapists who are licensed outside of Texas as well. So we can serve the greater Houston metro area and beyond, but we are a specialist practice. So what that means is that each of our clinicians, we have over 20 clinicians, each one has a specialty area, and that really allows us to focus in on providing a great quality of service for whatever somebody is coming in with. So we work with children, adults, teens, couples, families. We offer career counseling. We even offer health coaching as well. So,
wow. Okay. So full spectrum, right? So,
right.
So if you could, could you give maybe some use cases or examples of, people are maybe researching online, they're trying to figure out, do I need a counselor? Like they're probably trying to self-therapy, that sort of thing. Can you talk maybe through like some situations that you've seen, or that would be a ideal or a good person to be reaching out to you?
Yeah, so that's a big part of the message is, first of all, you don't have to have a quote unquote problem or issue per se to benefit from having an outside perspective. So the main thing to think about in terms of counseling is just an objective perspective, right?
Okay.
So you're feeling stressed, you're feeling overwhelmed, you might have difficulty sleeping. You might be feeling annoyed or irritable or frustrated at work. And sometimes just being able to talk through things and get a fresh pair of eyes, right? Because we all have our biases as well, right? So if I'm filtering things through my perspective, I might be missing some other points that could be helpful. I would say with COVID and all that, I mean, certainly everyone is under a lot more stress than usual. So even just simply processing through that, I mean, it's changed our lives in so many ways. That can be a great reason just to come in. So there doesn't necessarily have to be one focus per se.
No, I like that, having like an objective outside opinion, because sometimes maybe family or friends, you don't feel comfortable talking about it, or maybe even on social media you're in kind of an echo chamber, and it's good to get like that third party perspective. I was looking through your website for the people that are watching. I'm going to share my screen here, and some of the things I've seen, you have a lot of kind of quizzes and that sort of thing for some different areas. Can you maybe talk about those and talk about maybe some of these different
under self-test areas? Yeah, so under self-test there at the top, there are some different quizzes that you could try out. So let's say you're wondering like, well, I feel stressed, but maybe it's anxiety. I'm not quite sure. So you could take the anxiety quiz, for example, and get some feedback right away to kind of understand what your symptoms might actually be. So sometimes when we experience, for example, stress over a long period of time, then that can lead to anxiety. So for COVID is a great example of that. Other things might be depression. So when you're under a stress for a long period of time, depression may also take root. Or maybe you're just wondering, is this something I should be concerned about? And that's what the quizzes are meant to be for, just to kind of help you do a little screening and see if it's something that you should be concerned about and get some input on what might be going on.
Yeah, I noticed on your site too, you had a lot of great blog content to read on different topics, and it looks like you have different groups and events. Focus on your wellness series, coping with the pandemic, middle school therapy, young adult anxiety therapy, eating disorder, make peace with food, DBT. I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah.
And then positive parenting, motherhood, divorce. I mean, across the board, like you said, you have, 20 different, and there you go. There's a list of all of them and their backgrounds under the About Us. So a lot of great resources on the website at Eddington Counseling. So EDDINS counseling.com to go check out for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And I do want to point out, I mean, part of our mission is to really have an impact on the greater community. So we do try to offer services at various levels. Our Focus on Wellness is a free webinar series that we do monthly. Like I said, like you mentioned, the quizzes are a resource there. And then if you sign up, you can sign up for our newsletter and get specific resources. You can select, I'd really like to learn more about relationship or anxiety, for example, and you can get specific tips on those topics as well. So you can get a lot of information before even making an appointment. And the groups and other things like that, we do try to have something available for each different age and target population. Like you mentioned, the children, teens, and adults, so that we can be a resource for a variety of different needs in the community.
I really like this. I really like your website and all the resources here. The online therapy services, maybe that kind of, you can talk a little bit about that, and maybe even just talk about a little bit broader kind of what you're seeing with COVID, because I know people are really dealing with that right now. And, I'd like to hear kind of what you're seeing.
Well, certainly in general, just an increased stress on everybody involved, whether it's an individual living alone, you can imagine, like that's an increased stress right there. Families, whether it's the relationship, and not really having space. We're used to having a little bit of space throughout our day. The increased pressures from parenting 24/7, so many people went through that this year. Even though, schools got back in session, but for a long period of time, parents were working, parenting, and educating their children throughout the day. And that was a lot of stress, not to mention the stress on the children. At each different age group, it's a different kind of stress. But littles, for example, have their transitions changed, their routine has changed. Kids that are at the middle school level, I mean, they're experiencing that crucial time of social and peer development there, with the online school, that really was impacted quite significantly. And then teens, many teens, you're comfortable being online, but certainly a lot of their routine changed as well. So I think it's impacting social, just overall mental health, and then physical too. In general, we move around a lot more throughout the day. We have a lot more variety. And so that's an impact too.
No, I can only imagine. I'm not just imagining, I actually am going through it, right?
I don't think you have to admit at this point, right? That's the thing. We're all impacted one way or the other. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, so yeah, and the one other thing I really wanted to know, like, so if someone's like reading this stuff and they're like, hey, I'm not sure, I'm ready, or like, what's the mid-range step? Like, what's the process if they were to, decide to explore some of this stuff, but maybe not ready to raise their hand and jump in and say, hey, I need to set up some counseling sessions.
I would suggest participating or maybe signing up for one of our free webinars, for example. Okay. That's the Focus on Wellness webinar series. We do that monthly. The topics are different each month. And then I would also probably sign up for a targeted email series, perhaps, let's say on couples. So it's that particular information is going to be, these are evidence-based. We like to follow things that are based on research because we are a clinical practice. So these are based on research, what they have found to be effective for couples. So let's say that your relationship is what's stressing you out, then I would sign up for that, read some of the tips, practice that, put it into place. And then the next step might be to schedule a free consult with our practice manager, because she'll listen to you and focus on what would be best for you where you are right now. And I think that's really important, because we want to make sure that people are matched up with the right resource, whether it's counseling or a group or another service. And so that might be the follow-up step.
No, and let's kind of talk about it because you have so many different clinicians and so many different backgrounds. And everybody maybe has a little bit different approach. I'm not sure what maybe your overall methodology is or how you look at that, because I know a lot of therapists look at things a little bit differently. Maybe just talking about some of the expertise or some of the different backgrounds of some of the people in your practice.
Yeah, that's a great point. And that's why it's important. We are a specialist practice. So each person does have a particular area of focus that they work with. But that being said, everybody's going to have a different style, and that's just natural. Of course, we're human. And then also that's kind of an approach, I guess, is what I was going to say. But that's why we do recommend, if you're not sure, to schedule a free consult. And in that consult, we'll ask you some questions and pinpoint what's going to be a better match for you, so that when you're coming in the door, you're starting in not just kind of like, throwing a dart on the wall and seeing what sticks, but really trying to match up with style, personality, based on what your needs are. Maybe you've already done a particular type of therapy before and you want to take it on a deeper level, or maybe you want to try something different, or maybe you just need some assistance with, coping with a 3-year-old at home, for example. So each person is going to have a approach that's going to be effective for that. And that's what we try to do in that initial consult, is match you up with the right fit at that point.
And I think usually I ask the question of kind of how you got started, because usually kind of small business owners, they want to match with that right person. And you've grown your practice so large that you have a variety of different people, and everybody's going to engage with people differently. So I know it's kind of a hard question to know, but I think that it sounds like your practice manager really has a good feel for all the different clinicians in your practice and can match them up right. And what it sounds like to me is, it's not just, hey, are you the perfect fit with them? It's like, hey, whatever your needs are, whatever you're dealing with, we have a variety of different people that might be a good fit for you, and we'll kind of work through that. And I think that a lot of people could really appreciate that and know how to I would love to be matched up with somebody that I think would work well with me. So I think that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. So,
and I'll just give you another, an example that's beyond just, let's say like motherhood, for example. I mean, there's specific training in perinatal counseling and things like that. So, they've gone through that. But sometimes people might say, well, I've been to therapy before, and this is what worked, and this is what didn't work. And that's really helpful too, because we can fit also on like, I need somebody to challenge me more, let's say, right? That's something that has come up before. I'm just as an example, beyond, a specialty area. And that's something that we can accommodate as well. Okay. So we're really trying to hone in on what's going to help support you the best.
Yeah. And I do want to hear a little bit more about you, of kind of your vision, your mission, like the people you hire. There's got to be a certain set of values, kind of why you got started. Could you just share a little bit of that for the audience?
Yeah, sure. So I think the biggest thing is that we want people who are very passionate about what they do, because the people that we hire see this career as a calling and want to make an impact on the community. And that's why we offer such a variety of resources, is so that we can accommodate the needs of the community. So I think that's the value of the passion and seeing this career as a calling. And training and learning is also a big priority for us. So I think that's in our value statement as well. So that we want people who are going to be committed to ongoing development themselves. And we do a lot of stuff internally to support that. So I think those are some of the biggest points that are part of our values, so to speak.
Well, fantastic. Well, let me turn the page a little bit and ask you, what it means to you to be part of the BBB and being an accredited member, and just kind of how you view that membership.
Yeah, so I think because we really value having a specialty practice and offering quality services, I think we also value an organization that is backing the same values of offering great quality businesses to the community and overseeing that. That's just something that's really important to us, because at the end of the day, we do value offering quality services, and being a part of an organization that is committed to that as well is very important and very valuable for us.
No, absolutely. And so is there any tips out there you could give to people? It doesn't have to necessarily be COVID related, but some of the things that you're seeing as kind of a common thread that people have maybe dealt with either recently or over the years, that you would just give some free advice to everybody out there that, people could take heed and internalize it maybe,
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to really validate people to know that whatever they're going through, like you're okay. There's nothing wrong with you, to really watch out for that, the negativity or fearful type thinking, because one thing, I guess, that the privilege of being on the other side of the fence is that we get to see that we're all human, and those doubts and those fears that you're experiencing are very normal, and other people are experiencing the same thing. And that's why I think that outside perspective is so helpful, because we can get really caught up in our heads, and whether it's self-doubt or whether, oh, I made a mistake at work, or those people are thinking this or that, or whatever it is, we can really normalize that and help you to step outside of that. So we really want to get out from that negative thinking. But secondly, I would say to pay attention. So we might not realize the impact of chronic stress. So pay attention to changes in your mood, like irritability, for example, or sleep patterns, or diet. Perhaps you start to crave more things more often, things like that. All of these can simply represent that our bodies are out of balance, and that is our nervous system's response to chronic stress, which COVID is chronic stress. It's an example of chronic stress. And I'm speaking to you from Houston, so I can also tell you that Houstonians have experienced quite their fair share beyond COVID of stressful events due to Mother Nature, at least. So these symptoms show up in little side ways, so you might not realize over time, but we have some effective strategies to help you reset that. So I think that might be another reason just to reach out and talk to somebody and get some other input, because there's some simple strategies that we can do to just sort of help your body kind of get regulated again, despite the ongoing stresses that we're experiencing.
That's so great, Rachel. I really appreciate you sharing that. And kind of as we wrap up, is there anything else you would like to share? And then how's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Well, I think the biggest thing I just want to make sure that people understand is that you're not alone, and just to get support. One of the brilliant things that have actually come out of brain research, neuroscience research, is this little concept of name it to tame it. And what that means is that when we're feeling overwhelmed or what have you with whatever's going inside, simply speaking about it out loud, naming it or identifying it, actually calms our nervous system and regulates it. It's a very powerful thing. And our brains, you might have heard of this concept of neuroplasticity, but our brains can change at any point in our life. So regardless of what you're experiencing or dealing with, your body has an amazing way to heal. Just like, all of our frozen plants that, some of them that are going to come back, that resilience is pretty amazing. So we all have that within us and as well. And I think that's important. So if anyone wants to reach out, I would recommend scheduling a consult with our practice manager or our office manager, and you can call 832-559-2622 to schedule that. And even if you're not ready to make an appointment, simply make the consult and she can point you in the right direction of resources, at least to get started with, to get some more support in the meantime.
No, that's fantastic. It also says on your website, text us at 832-699-5001 if that's easier. And then, eddinscounseling.com. Rachel Eddins, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much. It was a joy having you on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me, Matt.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.